80 pounds I lost. And here's the great news. I have nothing to sell you. I don't have a program to turn you to. I don't have a website. I don't have a plan that you can then go adopt, because my plan in losing this 80 pounds, proof in the pudding, was just the most basic, and it just required a few things, starting with just the discipline. And having the discipline to really stick to what I set out to do so strictly for about 60 days. And after that, it just got easy. And what did I do? Well, it started with the goal that I wanted to live. So I had had a stroke. It's been 2 years now. And at the time I had the stroke and at the time I started my weight loss, about a year after that, I was at about 250 pounds. And I'm now at 170 pretty regularly. And one of the things that I knew is that I needed to lose weight. And I needed to get my blood pressure down and get my cholesterol under control. And I knew I just needed to make a life change. So I don't even say I went on a diet. It was, this is now just how I'm going to eat, period. And a great friend and client for most of my adult life, Dr. Schaefer, he's a dentist, not even a health provider that helps you with your diet, whatnot. But he told me years ago, he said, we eat for fuel, not for fun. And so I really took that to heart to go, okay, so I'm eating for fuel. I'm not eating for fun. And so I needed to remove emotion from why I eat. Now, one of the things to note is that I started with ensuring that I get a good night's sleep. Now, having a stroke and having exhaustion for 6 to 9 months, it got less and less, and then still really battled with tiredness for about a year. I was already in a regimen of getting about 10 to 12 hours of sleep at night. Don't necessarily need as much. But I started with, okay, every night I'm going to have a specific bedtime, and I'm going to be going to bed around 9:30 to try and be asleep around 10. And with that, to not set an alarm. Now, I just have that luxury, but not setting an alarm, I always wake up in plenty of time. So typically I am asleep by 10 and I wake up around 6, 6:30, maybe 7 o'clock, so getting plenty of sleep. So what I found, and it's probably a lot of us, the hustle and bustle, I was eating late. I was eating because I was stressed in the sense of, I need to get rewarded for this. Or if I'm eating late, well, that's the terrible time because now I'm going to sleep, right? So I also then, by not being tired throughout my day, I wasn't now eating to have energy, so to speak, to deal with stresses, so to speak. I was eating for fuel, but I wasn't eating to take care of a blood pressure, spike, etc. So the next thing I did was I thought, well, I'm not going to eat after 8 p.m. and I won't eat before 8 a.m. So I'll have 12 hours of what you could call fasting. I know some people that do that in a shorter time frame. But for me, I wanted to do something that I knew that I could do. So not eating after 8 p.m. Now, many times, especially in the early part, I'd be like, I feel like I'm kind of hungry. Well, the first thing I would do is anytime I was hungry is that I would drink a cup of water. Not even necessarily a whole bottle of water. I just drink a cup of water. Because many times we feel hungry, I've just learned and found it to be true, but we're really thirsty. And most of us don't drink enough water. So I'd have a drink of water and I'd be like, wow. And then in the beginning, I would just then have really just like 4 or 5 cashews or 4 or 5 almonds. And I found that I was good. Now, where I'm at is I don't even need to eat after 8 p.m. And that's probably been the case for the last 10 months. So doing those two things first, getting enough sleep, being disciplined to get in bed, and going with a regimen of not eating after 8, which means I'm not eating within 2 hours of going to sleep. The next thing I thought was, well, what can I do that's easy? Because I may still want to go out to eat. I hate counting anything. I hate counting carbs. I hate counting calories. I've done all that over time. Never worked for me. If I did do any loss, you gain it back. So I just knew that I didn't want an app. I didn't want to really even have weekly goals. I didn't want to go, well, I'm going to try and lose 5 pounds in the next 6 weeks. And so from my perspective, what I found, had a knock at the door, sorry. So basically, I decided what would be the diet. And it's not a caveman diet, but it's like, what would be the diet before all the things that made eating easy and fast food or restaurants and all that stuff, right? What would our ancestors eat, right? And it's like, well, that just seems like the simplest way to go, which is just single ingredient food. And I don't know where I came up with that concept. I'm sure I read it somewhere. I didn't dream it up or invent it. But I was like, I'm just going to eat meat. So fish and shrimp and chicken and beef. And I'm only going to eat fresh vegetables, nothing out of a can, not frozen, just fresh vegetables. And I'm going to eat fresh fruit. And, I would have some orange juice in the morning. So anyways, just eating that. And in the beginning, I was like, maybe other than the red meat, I'm just going to eat in the sense of here's a basically kind of normal proportion. So not going to have bread. And I didn't worry about having sauce. I didn't figure out like, oh, that sauce has this or that, ranch or barbecue sauce. Just didn't worry about all that. That's part of what would cause me to not want to continue, is trying to count all that stuff. And basically, within about 30 days, I found I didn't really even need sauce, maybe some dressing on salad. And by the way, I don't eat a lot of salads, but I found that with that first 30 days, by just going, well, this is all I can eat. This is all I'm going to eat. So what would we do if we went out to eat? Well, if we went to a restaurant, it's like, well, what's the meat, right? That's not breaded. And I'm going to eat the meat. And typically you can get some kind of vegetable. And then I'm going to have water. So I was able to continue to do that. Now, I didn't go to McDonald's and all that good stuff. Didn't really do that before. But, we might go to a burger shop, or a shack or something like that. And well, what did I do? I just had a burger on a plate. And what I found in about 30 days is that it just got easier and easier. And then the next 30 days, I found that I really was getting full much quicker. Because the other thing I did setting out was what I'd heard forever, which was eating slower, so to speak, and pausing during eating, and not necessarily eating for the social aspect of it, meaning focusing in on, even if I'm with people, like, well, I'm here to eat. So if I'm eating, I'm going to focus in on that versus munching and munching and munching. So mind you, not doing carbs, not doing breads. And then I also tried to listen to my body, basically my stomach, to go, well, when am I full? So by eating slower and kind of pausing, many times I read this over the years, it takes about 10 minutes for our brain to register that our stomach's full. So eating slower and ensuring that I was drinking water. And so what I found after 60 days is that clearly my stomach was starting to shrink just from not eating as much and just drinking water. And then I also in the beginning really thought, I don't want to eat anything that has added sugar. So if I happen to have to do something that's not anything that's, a meat, so like whether it's nuts or whatever. So never ate any candy. After 60 days, I was like, okay, well, I could have sugar-free candy. And after one night, I was like, why am I eating this? Just because it's sugar-free. It's still not healthy for me in any way, shape, or form. By the way, felt terrible. So really after 60 days, what I found was I was craving fresh vegetables and fresh fruit, like craving it. What I found also is that it was very easy for me naturally that when I was sitting down to eat, to just want vegetables with the meat and the water. Now, every once in a while, after the 60-day mark, we might be at breakfast and I'm going to have some bacon. Ooh, this and this and that. But see, I didn't go, ooh, it's bacon. I'm having a piece of bacon once a week, right? And I'd have some eggs and then some fruit with it. But Amanda would maybe have a biscuit with hers, and I'd be like, oh, you know what? Give me a corner of that biscuit. And I mean, didn't even want to continue the bite. I mean, I could taste the baking soda, and this is a spot known for their biscuits. But I could taste the baking soda and the ingredients, and it just didn't even taste that good. I remember feeling like I needed a little bit of caffeine, and so I just took a sip of some pop that was diet, and I mean, could not even swallow it. So my taste buds had clearly changed, and what I wanted was fresh anything, right? So it just became easy after that. So really that 60 days of, it wasn't, well, in 60 days I can treat myself. It wasn't, well, when I lose 15 pounds, I'll then do this. It was, I'm just going to get enough sleep, not eat after 8 p.m., not eat before 8 a.m., drink water when I feel hungry, drink water for sure with any meals, and of course, drinking more water. And just the mindset of, well, whatever I'm getting ready to eat, it needs to just be meat, vegetables, or fruit. Nothing canned, no added sugars. So if it happened to be that we're getting something at the restaurant or you're getting something in a store, pretty easy to go, well, that's carrots and celery and but like with peanut butter or something to that effect, it's like, well, get the most natural that we can. But I'm telling you where I'm at now is like, I don't really ever want anything. I don't really want sauces. When I go and have barbecue once a week with Coop, I don't even want the barbecue sauce. Even if I dip in the barbecue sauce, I'm like, oh, it doesn't even taste as good by just eating the meat. iPhone interruption. What I find is that where I'm at now is that it's just easy. It's easy to go to sleep. It really was after a short period of time. It's easy to just want water. Now I have, if I'm just wanting something besides water, and it's not because, I'm tired of drinking water, might have some iced tea every once in a while, unsweet. And now here's the thing that, probably any doctor or you, but it's like, but I've lost my 80 pounds, so I don't know what you really could argue with. I've got perfect everything when you do my blood tests and all that good stuff, and cholesterol and high blood pressure and blah, blah, blah. And remember, you got to just do what works for you, period. So if you're finding yourself typing, oh, you shouldn't do this or that, you can stop, because I'm not going to listen to anything that anybody else has to say, because I've got what works for me, right? And you got to do what works for you. But when I set out to now, just last September of 22, a year ago, a little over a year ago, I thought, any time in the past, I'm like, okay, I need to get healthy. What did I do? Maybe many of us do it. Like, okay, I'm going to eat healthy, and then I better start doing something active, walking or going to the gym or whatever the case is. But what I always found in the past is that, number one, I hate exercise. Hate it. I don't like to get sweaty. I just hate it. Now, I like being active and playing golf and all that stuff. Going on a hike, blah, blah, blah. But just like going to a gym, or I'm just walking the walk, just didn't ever want to do it. But here's the deal. When I did do that in the past and then tried to eat healthy, well, what happens when you start working out, right? Your appetite changes, your body's needs change, whether it's for water or carbs or whatever. And I thought, you know what? This is going to be a big enough feat to lose weight. And I thought, boy, if I lost 50 pounds, I'll be a flat-bellied, now young man. And even at 50 pounds, I was not flat-bellied at all. But anyways, I digress. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? And honestly, yeah, as an excuse to not have to work out, okay? But what I told my doc was, here's what I'm going to do. When I feel like I've lost all the weight that my body's going to lose eating this way, then I'll start working out, because I want to focus in on my diet, even though I didn't go on a diet, but I wanted to focus in on what I was eating and sleep, right? So if I'm working out, and get the endorphins, maybe I'm not going to be able to go to sleep, or maybe I don't have time, or now there's frustration. Yeah, you're right. It was an excuse not to work out, but it worked for me. I was focusing in on one thing, 250 pounds. Okay. And I'm going, I need to lose weight. So am I going to do it the way somebody else tells me to do it? Or I'm going to do it the way that I know is going to work for me? Well, I'm going to go that route. And if you know me, you know I'm not a sheep, right? Blaze my own trail. So that worked for me. That worked for me. Just focusing in on eating healthy. And so it didn't mess with all of my other needs that a body would have when you get active. So I'm at 170, and I've been at about 170 now, probably for a couple of months. I got to 175 and then just kind of creeping. And if you do the math, over a year, 80 pounds, it's very little weight loss. Very little, very healthy weight loss. So I always felt very good checking in with my doctor every 30 days. I went from wearing XL, maybe XXL, to where like I have to wear a small. I was wearing a 46 or a 48 jacket or suit, and now I'm wearing about a 40. I went from my waist size at about a 40, 42, to now I wear a 32, and depending on the brand, a 30, like 12 inches. My neck size used to be size 18, and now it's a size 15. I lost 3 inches on my neck. The hats that I had, so when I would wear, trucker hat, has a little band on the back, I would always have it, and there'd be 2 empty holes. Now I got to have it that it overlaps by 1 hole, so to speak. And I had to give away a lot of hats because I was like, this hat's just actually too big for me, especially the ones that were fitted. So I've had to go down from all those sizes. And so I started actually buying clothes on Amazon because I was like losing weight. And it's like, gosh, I just got these clothes a couple of, 6 weeks ago, and now it doesn't fit. Getting some stuff at Old Navy. I digress. It's felt wonderful. As I've progressed, having more energy. So one of the things that's also been a minor challenge is that as I've had more energy and feeling better and plenty of sleep and feeling rested, is to maintain what I talked about in the video where I shared with you the details of my stroke and that recovery, but maintaining now not overloading my schedule and overdoing it and really focusing in on doing one thing at a time. Because what I really knew was that the biggest thing that contributed to my weight gain and being overweight was stress, not sleeping well, eating late, eating then for whether it's fun or reward, or eating unhealthy because I needed it to keep going, so to speak. I needed the carbs, etc. And what I find is I don't need any of that stuff. And I eat when I'm hungry, of course, regular intervals. And as I just feel better and better, and then feel better in the sense of like, wow, I can wear outfits now and I don't have a stomach. Now, this is probably too much information for you, but there's probably only a handful of you that have made it this deep into the video. But one of the things that I'm now kind of like, well, what am I going to do about this? But unfortunately, I didn't think that would be the case, but I actually have extra skin around my stomach. It's not fat. It's just basically some skin. It's not a lot, but anyways, but that might just be something I've got to live with, and that's okay. So where I'm at now is it's not, now that I'm skinny, I'm going to do this or that in terms of eating something that is outside of what I usually eat. Now, have I a couple of times decided to go, well, you know what, I'm just going to have a burger? Yeah, one time. And I mean, I felt, oh my gosh, felt awful. First of all, I couldn't even eat more than half of it. It felt awful. Another time it's like, oh, you know, I'm going to have a few fries. Like, oh, felt awful. And I would tell Amanda, I'm like, I'm glad I feel awful because then I'm not going to do this again, right? We're just human. You know, like, oh, you know what? I'm going to have some pasta. Like, oh, I feel terrible. Oh, I'm going to have, you know, some bread. Oh my gosh, I feel terrible. So I've not repeated any one thing. Now, I've not eaten a candy bar because I mean, that'd put me probably in a coma. Don't drink any pop. Really love drinking water, and again, just some iced tea. When we go to Mexican, what do I have? I have fajitas and some chicken. Might have a few chips, right? Love doing vegetables and, you know, the Asian food, you know, mostly is made up of vegetables. I might have like 4 spoonfuls of rice with it. You know, every other week, maybe I got a steak that we're having. Maybe every other week having a burger. But pretty even, like never went one direction on, you know, red meat or just chicken, like really spread it out. And then same thing with the vegetables and the fruit. So now literally when I'm like, wow, I kind of want something sweet, it's like, I'm going to have an orange, or I might have some strawberries. And I'm telling you, one orange and I'm like, wow, that was good enough. 3 strawberries, oh man, I'm good. Like that was awesome. Recently, Amanda's son turned 18. We had a birthday celebration, had a cake, of course. And so, you know, being polite, I'm like, oh, I'll have a little slice, you know, eat a slice. And I mean, like, it was the worst decision ever. All to say, I don't have a regimen. I don't have anything for you to buy. I'm not going to write a book. This will be probably my only video about this. But if you just find what works for you and then go, I'm just going to do that. So the last thing I'll leave you with is that it's something that I learned long ago, and it actually was related to how I conduct myself in my business. And it came from a book that was made into a movie, 7 Days in Utopia. And bottom line is, the scene is that you have a young golfer that's trying to get back on the saddle in terms of their game and get back on the PGA Tour. And so he's with this elder statesman, Robert Duvall, who was a previous, you know, successful PGA player. Anyways, the older golfer says to the younger golfer, I want you just to grip your golf club. So they're at the range. He's like, you know, just grip your golf club. So he grips it, and the senior golfer says to the younger golfer, why do you grip it that way? And the younger golfer goes, I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is how I grip it. It's how I learned it. It's how I was taught. You know, I do this. And he's like, well, tell me about your grip. He's like, I don't know, man, just do this. And he said, what you need to do is, before you leave the range today, you need to figure out why you grip it the way you grip it. Because he said the worst thing that can happen to a golfer is a whisper in the crowd from a spectator that probably doesn't know much about golf, certainly doesn't know much about your swing, your game, your clubs, your background, that they might say to you, hey, turn your wrist over, put your thumb over here. And that little whisper is one of the worst things that can happen to a golfer, and they then self-doubt what they're doing, and they think, well, maybe I need to do that. Golf being a big mental game. And so what I basically also took from another book, won't go all into that in another book, was in doing this and how I've conducted business is I don't need to share with people what I'm doing while I'm doing it. I'm share with you now after I've done it, because I don't need the opinion of anybody else, right? This person like, no, you got to work out. Oh, no, you can't have oranges. You better not drink orange juice, or well, you have to have more than water, or you better do 8 cups of water, or don't do too much red meat. And you better watch your salt, and anybody that doesn't count, and this and this and this and this and this and this. And what's interesting is, yes, maybe human nature is they're trying to help, right? But they're only giving an opinion based on what? Their experience, their knowledge. So my point is that I didn't talk about it with anybody. Now, Amanda knew, right? My kids knew. But I didn't talk about what I was doing. When I would go out to eat, I just did what I did. I didn't explain to anybody I wasn't working out because everybody would have said, oh, well, you got to work out if you're going to try and lose weight. Okay, 80 pounds without working out. Now, yes, I'm active now. Okay, I'm active. I'm just going to put it that way. Working my way up to it. So picking what I'm going to do and then just keeping it to myself. You know, when I asked Amanda to marry me, no one knew. I didn't ask one person what they thought about that. I didn't go and say, you know, I'm thinking about marrying Amanda. Amanda didn't even know. Right? Point is that if I had to ask somebody whether or not they thought it was a good idea to marry Amanda, I'd be like, well, why am I marrying Amanda? The same as with this diet. If I know this is what's going to work for me based on my 31 years of being a CPA, working now at 250 pounds, all the things that didn't work for me, what's going to work for me, and then doing that and not seeking approval, not seeking reward, not asking for judgment, not asking for opinion, because most people are going to give it to you whether you ask for it or not. And I'm going to tell you something that's really interesting as well in closing, is that I've actually told a few people this, but I've had a few people say to me, you know, you've lost enough weight, okay? You're skinny enough. Now, the first thing I say is like, well, you've only known me as 230 to 250, or you don't remember when I was at 225. You know, that was probably what I weighed for the last 15 years. You just don't remember that. I just look so vastly different to you. I've lost 3 inches on my neck. I've lost 10 inches on my waist. I'm wearing clothes that fit. I'm not indented like a skeleton. My doctor's, yes, you're healthy. Blood work's healthy. Weight's healthy. Go to the charts. My height, 6 foot, right? What should your weight be? I'm there. Now, my doctor has said, probably need to gain about 5 to 10 pounds of muscle. So that's the goal now. Maintain what I'm eating, easy, getting active, and working on gaining muscle, right? But here's what's interesting is what I've also said to a few people. I said, where were you when I was 250 pounds? Why are you saying something about my weight now? Like, why didn't you come to me and go, dude, you need to lose some weight. Like, you don't look healthy, right? I had one friend that told me that, and that probably put the biggest fire or biggest spark to really go, you know what, I'm doing this. And he just said, man, I love you, brother, but like, you are the heaviest I have ever seen you. And here's the video right here of the weekend that we were together. And he had told me that at the end of the weekend. And I was like, I already started kind of thinking through what I was doing. I'd already started the process and thinking, but then I was like, I got to do it now. So all I'm telling you is, what's interesting is, it's just because I'm just telling you what's the reality of what I'm being told is, now I'm being told I'm too skinny. I'm not going to listen to the whispers. I know that I'm healthy, right? I know that I'm healthy. I know what I eat. I eat very healthy and eat plenty and drink plenty of water and get plenty of sleep. My body has naturally lost the weight it's supposed to lose eating healthy. My body is more intelligent than me or anybody else. My body knows what I need. And if I'm giving it what it needs, and when I try to introduce something that it doesn't need, it definitely lets me know it doesn't need that. Even that's enough vegetables, that's enough fruit, that's enough food. My body tells me. So my body is where it's supposed to be. So it's not necessarily according to a chart or what somebody says. So don't get me wrong. I hear it for love or whatever the case is. But what's interesting is you start losing weight, you get down to weight, people are actually going to comment about your weight. So this is kind of a weird phenomenon to me, because we don't actually go around and go, dude, you're fat, man. Like, what kind of belly you got sitting there? Women, I don't think, would ever enjoy standing in line and then you run into somebody and they're like, yeah, I saw you on Instagram. Like, you're fat. You've gained some weight. What kind of belly you got going on there, right? So that's why I say, well, where were you when I was 250? Like, why are you now commenting on my weight? What, now you're concerned I'm too skinny? Like, are you kidding me? All to say, I got to do what's best for me. Period, the end. All right, hey, I don't know how to end a video other than saying this, but thanks for tuning in. Love it if you'd subscribe if you haven't, because I don't have videos that are related to these kind of subjects. And then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me. You have a great one. And thanks for listening.